Welcome to Our Healing. This is Maria Mumbach, and I'm here with Judy. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Maria. How's it going?
Good. I'm
Good.
great. So I met Judy in Buffalo, New York. She's such an amazing person, very talented. I could say these things because that's what I think about her. Very talented energy healing and energy healer. Um, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a few things that she's working on. The first one being that she does biogenesis energy healing, which is extremely rare. I don't think there's probably like maybe 20 people that are doing it out there. This is something that is completely new for me to experience, but is extremely powerful. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about your past life art creations that are absolutely beautiful. So
Thank
why
you.
don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, um, and a little bit about your beginning. Like, when did you start this path?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me here, first of all. And thank you for the
Yeah.
kind words. I could say the exact same thing about you. Um, I have, oh boy, where do I start? I'll just say that as far as my path, kind of briefly, because it was a long path, I had a lot of things coming in when I was little, but shut it all down. And when I was trying to find my way through career, can you hear me, Maria?
I can.
Are we frozen?
No.
Okay, Ken, I'm sorry. So I was making some career changes and it ended up being a wildlife artist for many years. And somebody handed me a card for Randy Fish. He was doing biogenesis in Rochester. And I took a bunch of girlfriends and went. I thought it would be fun. We were going to have a little wine and whatever. And it ended up being just life changing. That was on Halloween in 2009. I had the session, and in the session, all of the things I had suppressed came back. And so after the session, he said, "You're going to be doing this for a living." I said, "Okay, you're a little, a little odd, nice guy," but didn't believe a word. And I left there, but I left there with one.
You're so
I
funny.
left it with one tool. I took a biogenesis tool home with me. They're not cheap, but I bought one, and everything just changed after that. So it's just been a path of discovery. As we're all on, when we step into a spiritual path, we kind of discover one layer and one talent and one path we want to unfold, and then it's a little bit like a tree. You find another one and keep going, right?
Yeah, it's definitely. I love that you brought up layers because there's always a layer of newness that comes in when you're ready.
Yeah.
And it's
And
that. Go ahead.
most of the time it's amazing and fun, and then sometimes it's like, oh, another layer. Thought I was done.
Yeah. The more you start healing, the more you start unraveling who your authentic self is, then comes a new layer of possibilities, a new layer of awakening, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I feel exactly the same way. Um, the old souls and sages, you can tell, they act more and more humble, right? And yeah, we're all on our path to that, I think.
So with biogenesis, tell me a little bit about who created this system and how does it work?
So it started with a family in Boulder, Colorado. They had not fit in with the other churches in the area, so they started their own with a few other families in a little valley in Boulder. And Cindy Demaray was very young when they were sitting at this church. They had converted a big chicken coop into a church. And in this one meeting on a Sunday, they were all in there, and somebody walked in with, he did not fit. He had a long robe on, and he walked in the middle of service, and everyone stopped, and he started giving them all messages. And when he got to Cindy, he said, "You're going to bring great light to the world." And then he turned to her mother and said, believe her when she tells you things. And so this man left the meeting and everyone looked at each other and they followed him out. And when they walked, they walked out there, he had gone. He was just kind of disappeared. So years later, she was in bed with her two little ones. I think it was, she's in her 30s, and he showed up again. And he told her to start making these tools, and she did, and she started distributing them. And then as people got them, they wanted more, and all these miracles were happening in their lives. And so she started, it was word of mouth, and she started charging for them. And Lantos was the man who would come in. He was an ascended master, bringing these tools back. And he did not tell her why, but when 2012 happened, he told her that that's what these tools were for, is for the transition, to help with the transition. And so now clients that I had before 2012 actually, and the experiences that they're having now is completely different. The tools have, I have to say, more power, more impact. They're very impactful before, but now almost no one has a session without some kind of an amazing experience. So he did say that they would gather more power, they'd become more, people would be able to experience it more. And he is always coming to Cindy with new tools for the new energies.
So let me ask you, as an energy healer, what has been the energy that has been shedding? How are the old energy feel? And I'm sure that you've treated newer energies, so newer beings that are coming in as well. What is the feeling? What do they have in common, and what is unique about them? Do you understand what my question?
I think I do, and it's a great question. Of course, it's a great question. All right. Oh, it's a tough one. So the new energy, boy, I don't want to, it's a really tough one. I mean, the new energy people, and these are people that you could have called old energy, I swear, 10 years ago, like they've shed so much. They are experiencing the world in a different way. Manifestations and synchronicities, and living in a completely different way. And I'll just give you a silly little example. If you were an entrepreneur 15 years ago, you would go do a business plan and nail everything down and follow it to the letter, and et cetera, et cetera. And now a lot of people are, you have to be somewhat responsible and have some kind of a plan, but they're putting out there what they need and following more of an intuitive way. So I'd have to say that's number one, is people are living in a different way because they're experiencing the energies of everything differently, and things come to them differently. Wealth comes to them differently. Love comes to them differently. Life is easier, more magical.
So it sounds like you're saying that when you've shed a lot of the old energy, you start listening more to your intuition. You start living from you start living guidedly from your, whatever you want to call it, higher self, God, whatever it is that you want to call it. But it sounds like they're living from trusting their intuition.
Yes, and that does not mean they don't have bad days. I mean, it's almost, of course, a little bit contrast, because you're one of them, right? The contrast is actually greater when you're living that way, and then you drop back into the grounded reality of life at times, because I don't think we can be completely living it that way quite yet. It's very contrasty and painful. So there's no escaping that part. So I feel like it's almost like this little bipolar energy for people who are really stepping into that. If you're not quite stepping into it, I really don't think the contrast is as great. So you're actually, some ways your life might be a little easier because you're still, looking forward to Friday nights and, dreading Mondays and just trying to get through, and it's day after day kind of same. So I feel like in some ways those people are having, people living that way are having a little easier time than the people who step into the new energy.
So it's either either the people that are completely not wanting to change and want to stay in the same energy, or the people that are changing constantly, even though they struggled and suffered and had to learn to let go, um, are are they've done a lot of work, but they have their good times and their bad times. But the people in the middle, the ones that don't want, they have one foot in the old ways and one foot in the good ways, they get to a place that they're so comfortable and they don't want to move. So those are the people that are having the hardest time. By that I mean not the hardest time because they're comfortable, but the hardest time making a choice.
Yeah. When you said hardest time, I was thinking, I think that might be the group that is having the hardest time, because they
Yeah,
can see this and they know this, and they're tortured by choice, right? Because it's a
it's
choice.
choice.
The ones
Yeah,
that are still asleep they don't see the choice so much yet, and that's okay. Their time will probably come here. But the ones that have a choice and are making a no choice or bouncing between their choices, I think that has to be torturous.
yeah.
And
They're
confusing.
probably the ones that may feel more constricted than anything, energetically anyways. Even though physically they're still doing the same old thing, energetically it may feel like I could actually shed this layer, but it's kind of warm, it kind of fits. I'm
Yeah.
I'm comfortable, you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, I know
So
exactly what you mean.
yeah, so let's talk about that's first, that's a good point. It's those people have to learn what choice means, and they have to learn that they do have a choice and start using that more regularly. I choose to be happy today. I choose to take another step. I choose to take ownership of my peace and happiness and joy. So yeah, definitely those are the people that will need to continue to grow in that area. But the newer people, the people that have shed a lot of the old ways, what has been their biggest challenge, you think?
Oh, um, so that's a really good question. Again, you got great questions. I would have to say that there's less and less, as you know, because you're experiencing that. As you're
Mm,
going into that way of living, there's a smaller amount of people. And so you are either making your world very, very small to be surrounded by people who are kind of understanding how you're living, or you are bumping up against people who don't live that way. And it's very hard in many circumstances to do that because their understandings are so different than our understandings. Um, so I'd say that's probably the greatest challenge is you're you're seeing things completely differently and experiencing things completely differently. And it's almost like you're in a zoo of rhinos and you turn into a giraffe. And now you're like, yeah, but don't you see? Can't you see over the fences? It's beautiful over there. And like, oh no, I like the hay right here. It's really nice. I just want to lay
yeah,
down. So I'd say that's a very big challenge for people is you're
yeah,
still old paradigms still exist that you have to navigate old energy.
yeah. So I would say my advice for those people that are in the smallest population of the world, right, is love yourself and be authentic to yourself, and don't take anything personal, because we've all been there. Why is that person too happy? I mean, you have people upset with other people because they're too happy.
Right? Yes.
Or why is that person too helpful? Like, what does she want? Or what does he want?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Or why
what
do
is
they?
happening?
Yeah, they're oblivious to everything. It's like, no, they're not. They say it, they're just not engaging. So yeah.
Yeah. So like, don't take anything too personal. Be authentic to yourself, listen to yourself, and master choice. Always master choice. what would be your advice for them?
As far as the people that we
The
were just
smallest
talking
part. Yeah.
about, well, I mean, mine's like the 1, 2, 3s of taking care of yourself. No, I
Mm,
quiet time, meditation, grounding every day for yourself. And I feel as long as you can do that, find your thing, and that makes you get back into center and revisit it once or twice a day at least. And then you can face the world. Like anything that comes up, you can face it and really be detached from other people's stuff. You know, it's not about you. If somebody's struggling with something and you have to be in the midst of it, it's not about you. So kind of detached. I think of Buddha and Jesus a lot these days, because how did they travel the world? They were not, I always say this, they were not taking lasagnas to everyone that was sick. You can't.
yes.
So, you know, when you're seeing so many people in need and you want to help them, you just have to keep shining your light, and knowing that you can help people by being there for them when they want to step into it, but you
Mhm.
can't be there through their struggles with a kind of a lower platform, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like you're saying is you being present anywhere with your light, grounded. You don't have to do anything.
No.
You don't have to say anything.
No.
There's no action or words requested of you, just being present. Creating a sacred space in a room is healing for people that haven't gotten to that level.
I agree.
So, yeah, so knowing when to say something and when not to say something, it's beautiful. So I completely agree with what you're saying. It just, you're right. It's a good reminder for me that I don't always have to do something. I could just be present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
I, the more and more I feel like that's our job, is to be present, find our path, live it, and we will do our best work here. Um, and it's not stepping into the old paradigm of I'm here to heal the world, or I know I'm here to help people.
yeah,
Well, you're here to help people, but just be you, and you will help people. You'll figure out how.
perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, because I mean, some of us grow up thinking and believing. I mean, even from little small, I'm gonna do something big. I just don't know what it is, and you're always searching for that big thing to do. But the biggest masterpiece, the biggest creation that you can do is just be yourself
I
and love.
110% agree. Yes. And that's a
Yeah,
big thing right now. Yeah.
yeah,
Because so many
yeah,
people are waking up and they think, I have to do something. I have to help people.
right,
It's like, okay,
right,
just follow your path. You'll find it. You'll be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't tell them anything. You can't tell newer people that are awakening to just be present, because that's not gonna, they have to find their own way. The older people that have been waking up for years and years and years, we're here to also kind of guide them to just stop, be yourself, and let go of the outcome of the expectation that you're here to do something big. You could let go of it so that you could go into the role first. I don't know, it's something about letting go of what you think you should be doing,
Exactly.
and allowing what needs to happen.
Yeah. I think when we
Yeah,
get caught up in a story and how we think the story should be, that's where we can go awry. Yeah.
yeah. So let's talk about your art, because it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm gonna post the art that she created, if you're okay with that, because
Oh,
it's
I'm fine.
absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
So
much.
let's talk
Um,
about that.
okay. I did wildlife art. I quit my job in about 2000 to do wildlife art, and loved it. But it was a very ego-based world, art, that whole art, even they're great people. Um, but I found it not suiting me anymore, and I was searching for something else. And that's actually when kind of biogenesis came in. Of course, that's how it all works and happens, right? And so I was having a lot of trouble figuring out why an artist was seeing dead people Like, how would I put that together? And over time, I was sitting in my studio one day, kind of miserable because I had to do these readings for people drawing their loved ones, and I couldn't stand it. By like, I would sit there and wait for them to show up in the physical and kind of like a hologram, and then try and draw it. And they were so fast, it was only a split second, and you cannot remember all the details of a face that way. So I was kind of yelling at spirit, having my moment, and I said, this really is horrible. If you want me to do this, you got to figure something out. And I heard a voice say, "It's easy, put the pencil down." So I put it down on the paper, and I just ran it across the paper, and the face came in under the paper, under the going back and forth. And so from there on out, I was doing people's loved ones, spirit art. And then I just, things have shifted, and I'm coming back to my roots. I love animals and nature, and I've come so far away from that. And I think it was necessary and fine. But then I got into, and I've always loved hypnotherapy and past life regression, always loved that. So I've gotten back into working with spirit animal and working with past life drawings, where I will just look at a person's photo, or if they're sitting in front of me, just kind of tap in. I ask spirit to show me a visual, and then I do the same thing, run the pencil over the paper, and all of this stuff comes in. And it's usually like a snapshot of a movie, and I see a little bit of a movie with it in my mind, and I'll do a little reading from that. But it usually taps into all of this stuff that we brought to this lifetime from that lifetime. So it's usually applicable between lifetimes. It's not just some random moment in 1,000 years ago, you know? So I love doing that. And then the same with spirit animals. I'll ask to see a spirit animal. It'll come in with all of this stuff that's applicable to now. It's not the Ted Andrews, who I love, and he's wonderful, but it's not the, you know, a snake doesn't come in with usually the exact same messages that you would find in a book. It's more personalized, and but of course applicable to a snake shedding a skin, and you know, all those things. But the next stage, I'm not sure, but I just kind of had an inkling recently that there's a little bit of a change coming on that end, and it's going to have to do with animals and spirit. So we'll see what comes up there. But that's been
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well, you called it. You called it a few weeks ago, and it was so funny because I am always working on stuff. I'm like, okay, it's got to be this or this or this. But then I had a meditation, and this visual came up, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. You said that just a couple weeks ago. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, I know we have a deep connection.
You too,
My guys are, my guys are like, oh, Judy's up to something. Go talk to her. I'm like, okay. But no, I'll have to say that I'll give you my experience with both of your new, well, biogenesis energy has helped me tremendously.
Right.
So I started my I started my awakening process, because it's not just the awakening, it's lifetimes of awakening. But I started my awakening process that I remember in this life, because I've done it before, apparently, so my guides tell me, that I started in this lifetime in 2018, but I had no idea where to go, I didn't even know what chakras were. I'm like, what is a chakra? But
engineer.
Yeah, when I was younger as well, when I was a kid, I used to see things, talk to beings, and it all stopped during a period of time where I went to church quite a bit, and then everything became fear-based. And then in 2018, I started again seeing, sensing spirits again, and I'm just like, oh, okay. So what do I do next? Like, what happens next? Well, when I started going into having sessions with you with biogenesis, it just like unclogged me.
Oh,
it was like pretty intense. I was holding on to the old energy because I have a tendency to want to be a good person. And in the world, being a good person doesn't mean being a right person. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You could be very patriotic, but it doesn't mean that you're right. It's about loving others as you love yourself. That's good. That's right. But back then I thought good was to make sure I had the best cars, the best image, right? The best mask to wear. But starting doing the biogenesis sessions with you, it really, really helped me tremendously in balancing. You basically helped me go in through shadow work, through
Oh,
the dark night of the soul, and then um continued that throughout my journey off and on. And then my guides told me, reach out to Judy because she's up to something new. And I'm like, okay. So I reached out to you, and you did an artwork, which I'm going to be posting soon, that you colored, or you created, not colored, you created about my past life as a shaman, as a medicine woman. And of course, I had already known that I was a shaman back in my past life. So it all kind of brought everything together, and everything, of course, your reading was on point and everything just made sense. And it really did help me understand that I already know everything. We already know everything that we need to do. We just need to dive in to the silence of ourselves and get it. I don't have to worry about anything. Not what I'm going to do, or what am I going to say. Everything's inside of me.
that's
So there's
beautiful.
no point. Yeah, there's no point in worrying anymore. It's just allow everything to fall into place. Because the more we worried, the more we get frustrated, the more we get angry. It delays us a little bit. It's like today, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing, but I'm just going to allow. And I'm going to sit with the silent part of me and hear it. Because the one things that I've learned is intuition is not hurry. Intuition is not fearful. Intuition is not haste. Intuition is silent, and it's it's choice. Hey, this is what your intuition's telling you, but you have a choice in everything. So it's all of your work has really been helpful for me, and it has changed me tremendously.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I want to know, how can people get a hold of you? Like, what are your platforms, and what is how could they request a reading or help from you?
Right now, my website is judithhartke.com, and my number is 716-462-9174, so people can text or call. I also have like little 15-minute readings on Etsy, and I work with Fiverr too, little 15-minute readings, because they're very easy to just put your picture in, your name, your question, and then I return it within 3 or 4 days. So those are really popular, but then there's a lot of people that still want one-on-one. I do a ton of Zooms all over the place. So like the world kind of thing. So those are the ways. And
Okay, perfect.
yeah.
Is there anything else?
Anything
Thank
else?
you. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say?
Oh gosh, we could be here all day, right, Maria? You and I talking for hours.
Yeah.
But we would probably lose everybody. No, this has been great. You've asked some great questions, and you had so many great points, and I really appreciate you and you taking the time, and it's been lovely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon, Judy.
Okay, take
Bye.
care. Bye.